it seems that you can have a secret society of child actors or children of famous actors, and you guys all have many things in common. What is the most? What was one thing in common that most children of famous actors have in common?
Well, it's difficult for me to speak about other people's experience, but it is a very interesting, challenging lifestyle. I mean, for me, I would say that it's kind of a twofold event. On the one hand, there's a lot of public attention to the family, and some of it's nice and flattering. My family, certainly, when Star Trek went on the air, we became the focus of paparazzi, and journalists were writing about the family. It was a kind of exciting time. I think some of the challenges for those of us who have celebrity parents is that the parents it's a fan-driven business, and it doesn't stop. It goes 24 hours a day. A lot of our parents are very driven, are working all the time. When you're working on a set, TV show or feature film, they're very long hours. You're not with that parent for very often, for very long. And when you're on the street with them trying to have a normal, quote unquote, relationship, fans are everywhere, and they want the attention of the parents. So it's challenging for those of us. Now, I'm lucky. My sister, I have an older sister. We were both very lucky that we had a very loving mother who was basically single parenting us while my dad was out working. So we were very fortunate that that my mom kept the family together. But I think that's the biggest challenge, is that it's hard to stay connected to a parent who's working all the time and is being kind of respectful of the public. I mean, it is a fan-driven business, and my dad always loved the fans and was very attentive to them. But it can be challenging for the kids of the celebrity.
Your father, had coworkers he got along with and coworkers he didn't get along with. Who were some of your favorite coworkers of his? I know I saw George Takei say a couple of beautiful words about your book. Outside of George, or is George your favorite?
Well, I always had a great relationship with George. I just love him and the stuff he stands for. His social activism, his political activism. It was something that really connected him to my dad as well. So, we always had that as a connection. I had a close relationship with Nichelle. She was always very loving to me, and I really appreciated that. And Dee Kelly was always very warm and welcoming to me. And I love Bill. Bill was always a great person to know, and I respected him and loved the work he was doing. I was a big fan of the show. When it went on the air, I was 10 years old, and even though there's been some ups and downs between Bill and Leonard, reportedly, the fact is that I think I'm really grateful for Bill and his interpretation of the role of Captain Kirk, because the way he plays Kirk with that swashbuckling, very, joie de vivre. He's very, he really owns the role. It's very much. He's very out there with the Kirk character, and that allowed my dad to play a much more introspective version of Spock. So I'm really grateful to Bill, because without him, I don't think we'd have the Spock that we've come to know and love all these years.
I want to go and touch back about you, and as you've gotten older, has the fandom gone away, or as soon as someone knows that you are a Nimoy, does the fandom reappear?
Oh, it's ever present. I'm in New York City now. I was out at a show last night, and I was introduced to somebody as Adam Nimoy, and they lit up right away. That happens all the time. It blows my mind that here we are, almost 60 years later since the air date of the original series, and the show still resonates with people. Fans, there's still a lot of love for Leonard and for Spock. Wherever I go, I see images of Spock everywhere. The show really exploded in the 70s during the syndication market. I was in college at the time and really not watching much TV, but I was pretty surprised when I went to go to study groups at the dorm rooms at UC Berkeley. Everybody would empty out and cram into the TV room at 5 o'clock on a weekday to watch Star Trek. So, that was 50 years ago, and it's still happening. It just, look, people just, it resonates with people. Star Trek, the message of Star Trek resonates still. It's Gene Roddenberry's hopeful view of the future, and it's something that people, I think, really still glom onto, and that we desperately need at this point in time.
I apologize. The Most Human is out on paperback. I have not read it, so I hope I don't do any spoilers. But sons always want their father's approval and acceptance. Did you ever get that from Leonard, being he was so busy, or did you get it later in life?
Well, I mean, look, my dad was proud of the work I had done. I had my own aspirations and my own objectives and goals, much like him. I went to law school intending to have a legal career. That turned out not to be the case. There were just a lot of issues between the two, my dad and I, both of us, about acceptance and tolerance and patience with one another. And disappointment, in terms of our relationship. I was always proud of my dad. My dad we had issues like a lot of fathers and sons. In our case, and I talk about this in the book, our issues were exacerbated by the fact that my father was an admitted alcoholic and I was a pothead for 30 years. And that did not help us at all in dealing with the conflict in our relationship. It was only through the decision that we both independently made to go sober and get into recovery, 12-step recovery, that we were able to find the patience, tolerance, acceptance, and loving kindness that we really needed to practice towards each other in order to rebuild our relationship. Before we went sober, we were basically estranged from each other. We barely had any communication. But after we got into recovery, my dad and I had a very close and loving relationship the last 7 or 8 years of his life.
Well, was the ability to reconnect, did that make the passing of Leonard a little bit easier, that you did establish that connection and you got back together?
Yeah, I do. I talk about in the book when my dad passed away, just the feelings of gratitude and love overwhelmed me, and connectedness, and just so relieved that my dad and I had figured it out, that we that we didn't blow it, that we realized what was important, and that was rebuilding our relationship. I mean, we had a lot of love for each other, but it was all it just got so kind of like misguided and hidden from behind the conflict that we had. So yeah, I mean, I had a lot of gratitude, and no remorse and no regret about things that we should have said or done. I mean, we told each other how much we loved each other for many years before he died. The family was very close. I spent a lot of time with my dad. We made a great documentary together about his life in Boston. We were working on the Spock documentary together when he passed away. We were trying to figure out a way to celebrate his career and the life of Mr. Spock and 50 years of Star Trek at that point.
What can people, I mean, I think we covered a lot on this book. How can they find it? And what's the little thing that they can expect that, from the book, that it would be a little surprising to them?
Well, the book is called The Most Human, Reconciling with My Father, Leonard Nimoy. It is now out in paperback. I would urge people to support their local bookstores. I'm a big supporter of the Village Well in Culver City, California, in my neighborhood. You can also get it wherever books are sold or online. And I think people will be, I think it's a book of hope. It's a celebration of my relationship with my dad, because it was I think it gives hope to people who have problem relationships in their own families. That's the whole point of the book. I'm trying to show people, based on my experience, that it is possible to rebuild relationships, to reconcile with one another. And it's important to do so. It doesn't always work. It's not for everybody. But it's a book of recovery. And I think that, and the fact is, I talk about the fact that most people are in recovery of some sort or other, whether they're recovering from the loss of a loved one, or the loss of a career, a failed relationship or marriage, some physical infirmity that people are trying to recover from. It's just a book of hope and a celebration of my life with Leonard Nimoy.
Thank you so much for your time, Adam. Please have a wonderful day, and good luck with the book.
Jose, as always, live long and prosper.